Welcome, where we are rooted in spirit. We transmit only what is coherent and we mirror only what is true.
Where we get real, get rooted, and get free. Welcome back, guys. So I know last episode we was going through the stages of the awakening, and we went through the first stage, which was the sleep, when you're unconscious, when you're doing things on autopilot, not recognizing your patterns just yet. So you're still going through the motion of chaos in life. Then this, and we kind of gave you some examples of our own disruptions. And then the second one was the disruption, where we walked you through what it looked like for us. Again, it may look different for you, but it's some catalyst in your life that started your journey where you began to awaken. So Maitreya is going to give you a screenshot of what the awakening stage looked like, and we're going to give you our perspectives and our story on what it may look like for you. Now we're on stage three, and this is the seeking. And I touched a little bit on that because when you're going through the disruption, you need some type of clarity. You need to know that what you're going through, you can get through. And you also need a safe space to talk about the things that you're going through. So for me, I use different psychics, different healers, different practitioners. But before I even got to that stage, I was calling in on my prayer warriors because I still had that Christian foundation with me. And it still is instilled in me, but I just use those tools a little different. So I started out with the praying, fasting, being on the prayer line because I didn't know what I was going through. But then when those things didn't work, I started going to psychic, to healers, to tarot readers, and all of them had the same message for me. Because when you start seeking, you want to know the whys. And my first question that I wanted to know was, what is my purpose in life? Because I was unhappy with everything that was going on. Even though by paper standards, I looked fine. I've always kept a smile on my face. You never knew what I was really going through, but secretly and inwardly, I didn't know who I was. I knew all the labels that was given to me, but when you take all that away and your foundation is rocking and is not stable, you start seeking for those outside guides to help you, gain clarity or for whatever it's worth. And you start meeting people along the way that's going through the same thing you're going through. But for me, it wasn't family. It wasn't friends because our interest changes when you come from that disruption stage into the seeking stage. Betrayal, what did it look like for you?
Oh, well, I think, yeah, coming out of the disruption stage, there was a lot of loss. There was a lot of heartache
Yeah.
as I realized at that time my partner and I weren't going to be able to continue the journey together.
Hmm.
And so I moved into the seeking, which was quite traumatic for me. I ended up getting a job in Bali and moving to Bali, Indonesia from the United States. I had a very deep inner calling and actually had gotten an astrology reading
Okay.
from a friend's mother, which I had forgotten about. And she said, "You're going to be gone for years and years. This is going to be a huge shift for you. A lot of things are going to shift in your life." And so I knew that there was more to life, absolutely, but I didn't know what that looked like or what that was. So yeah, my decision to move to Bali was definitely about I was looking for answers and I needed to understand, what was the purpose of my life and why was I not able to stay in this marriage? That why was it such a big mismatch? And is there something else that I'm supposed to be doing? So yeah, there was definitely I picked a very intense sort of action in terms of my seeking by moving to different countries. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a pretty big deal. And then I ended up staying in Bali, Indonesia for 19 years.
Wow.
So it was a huge part of my life that really my awakening began just before and then continued through those 19 years. Yeah.
So I'm curious, and I'm sure your audience is curious too. What were some of the things that the psychics and the healers told you? Was there a similar theme for you, or were they giving you different messages? And also on top of that, did you ever question about what was your purpose in life?
Well, I think different psychics were telling me, you definitely, the wounded healer Chiron was in my chart. And so many astrologers were saying, you have the natural capacity to be a healer or
Mhm.
to work with people at a soul level, they were telling me. And at the time, it didn't really make a lot of sense because I didn't see myself that way. So that was one of the things they were telling me, or to be a teacher, to be a spiritual teacher. And I had gone through teacher training. And I remember at the time I didn't really want to be a regular school teacher. So I was like, why am I doing this? But now, years later, I can look back and see, I needed that structure. I needed those skills so that I could become a really good spiritual teacher. So, yeah, they were saying stuff like that. And none of it really made sense to me at the time. But then as my awakening continued, it started to make more sense. I started to see the bigger picture of why I had even done the teacher training, why I had studied Reiki and all of these things. Like, because at the time I wasn't like, I'm going to be a healer. This is why I'm going to become a Reiki master. I really was on a search to remember who I truly am
Mhm.
because I felt very lost. I mean, that's why I left that relationship. I felt very lost. I moved to Bali. I was still feeling very lost
Okay.
until I started meeting the right teachers and learning, getting the skills that I needed to help me along the way. So, how about you? I'd love to hear more about your story, Shataka.
Well, for me, I started off, I had different careers. Definitely wasn't into the spiritual field. I was a cosmetologist in Louisiana. And when I moved to Texas, I didn't want to do that because I didn't know anyone in Texas. So I didn't want to have to build my clientele. So I said, okay, I'm going to do something different. And I went into retail. I absolutely loved retail. I know a lot of people are like, what? Who likes retail? But I love talking to people. I love merchandising, making people feel good about themselves by putting them in different outfits. So just a lot of that comes with that. But in the midst of that, I learned leadership skills. I learned to have tough skin because you definitely got to have tough skin in retail. So I never thought that I would go down the rabbit hole of wanting to serve and be a part of the spiritual community. So throughout different healers and psychic people, they will tell me that I was a messenger. I'm like, a messenger for who? They said that you're meant to deliver the message, and that could be through your journey or the knowledge you gain as you're on this journey. Again, I didn't think that fit me because I had that, not good enough pattern. And who am I to tell someone what they should be doing with their life when my life looks like shit right now? Because I'm out seeking. So I didn't believe the things that they were telling me because I didn't believe in who I was. And every psychic healer had the same theme, and there's no way that they should have known those things about me because they don't know me. But everyone was telling me you are a messenger, you are a conduit for spirit. I'm like, what spirit? Like, if you let spirit come through you, ain't you going to hell? You're going to be possessed. So I was battling all those beliefs that I had within me in the very beginning because, you know, in that process, you're deleting what don't serve you and you keeping those that do. So I was still going through that process of that. And the same thing was you're here to break the karmic line in your family. We know you were the black sheep, but you were the black sheep for a purpose. I had no idea about reincarnation. Wasn't taught any of that. So they're telling me things that themes I was reincarnated into, and you used to be this, used to be that, and so naturally your ego steps in, and oh shit. I talked to Jesus. So I was ISIS. So you get caught up in all of that because you want to feel good about yourself, not knowing that Shataka, just being who Shataka is, is uniquely different and special by herself. So that was my introduction to all the healers because they kind of reinforce, now that I see it, a little bit of my ego instead of pointing me to the direction of finding my own inner wisdom. Go through the things that you need to go through. But, and I want to say this, I didn't just see psychic healers and practitioners. I also sought out therapy too because I knew there was some clinical things going on. Because for me, the disruption didn't just show up in relationships. It showed up financially for me and it showed up physically for me. My health started declining. I started having older people's issue. And back then I didn't consider myself, I was, in my early 30s. I didn't consider myself older person to be going through hypertension, maybe pre-diabetic, high cholesterol. Like, what the hell is going on? My nervous system was shot. So it was a lot of physical things that was going on with me as well. I had to see medical doctors, practitioners, energy healers. So it was a combination of all of those things to get me back regulated in my energy and my nervous system with that.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
think people don't realize that's a part of it. All of that connects the dots with that.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Where did it show up for you in your body anywhere or any other area besides relationship?
Well, it definitely affected my mental health,
Mhm.
in the stage two, where things just really everything gets upended, and I was going through a very dark night of the soul, and
Mhm.
I was in a very serious depression. So much so that the counselor who I was seeing at the time didn't really believe in medication, but she
Mhm.
said, "I really feel like maybe for you we should do something."
Mhm.
And so for the first time in my life, I was taking medication, and I was really kind of ashamed,
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
had to take
Yeah.
medication. And I felt, that's why I said I felt so lost. I didn't understand why things
Mhm.
had gone so amiss, and why I couldn't just be happy in a normal marriage. And, we had a child at the time who was like 2 or 3 years old. And yeah, I felt like my whole life had really fractured.
Mhm.
So awakening can be really, really challenging. Yeah, it's really hard. And yeah, maybe a part of me was running to Bali to escape. But a part of me was also running to like a new possibility, like I have to shift and move into something else. Physically, another thing that happened to me, I started to notice I was getting asthma,
Mhm.
and I was having a lot of difficulty with my respiratory tract and breathing. Of course, smoking clove cigarettes didn't help. I started smoking.
Wow.
And then I realized that that was really not good. So I
Mhm.
stopped. And then the asthma healed for a few years. But then when I went through another very tumultuous period in my second marriage, and I was under a lot of duress, the asthma came back again. So
Mm.
that's something I notice about medical conditions when you're going through an awakening. Sometimes they heal and then they can come back again if you're going
Yes.
through another period of intense integration. Those conditions can resurface mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. So the asthma came back, and I was like, wow, why is it back again? And so I was
Mhm.
dealing with asthma, and I started to get a physical condition known as IBS,
Mm.
irritable bowel syndrome, which was very excruciating. Unfortunately, I'm still grappling with that. It's improved a lot, but my weakness is my gut. So when I have a lot of stress or I'm integrating a lot of new energies, still to this day, I can be triggered. So yeah, there are definitely physical side effects for many
Mm.
people that are on this awakening journey. Yeah.
And I also think that the audience will kind of resonate and very relate to it because the gut, that's your solar plexus area, your sacrum, your root. So you're normally going to have a lot of issues with that. I suffered with the same thing because I wasn't dysregulated. That's a part of it, healing the micro inside and outside. So that for everybody, I'm sure a lot of people can say they suffer with acid reflux, indigestion, lactose intolerance. It's something went on in your gut that was an indicator for you. And I
Yeah,
forgot to mention, when I was talking about those practitioners and healers that I went out to, which was mostly holistic, but what really helped me subconsciously is I went to someone that was a hypnotist. So she did hypnotherapy and she was able to help me change those behaviors and to be able to recognize those patterns that was going on in my life. That was a big help for me because we operate 80 to 90% already through our subconscious. And if you have stored trauma and patterns, ancestral patterns, and patterns that you created your own self that you're living on autopilot. If you're not dealing with that, I don't care how many healers clear that energy from you. If those behaviors don't change, it's coming right back. So that helped me to alter, delete, transform those beliefs that I had. It helped me so much that I went and got my license to do that because I know subconscious work is very important. Not just the
yeah,
spiritual aspect, you need the mental aspect with it as well. And-
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're both hypnotherapists, so
Yeah.
that's interesting thing that we have in common as well. Yeah, and I totally agree with you that the subconscious is key to
Mm-hmm.
healing so much, especially around past life,
Mm-hmm.
uh, limiting beliefs or traumas that we're carrying into this lifetime, or even our current limiting beliefs and behavioral patterns that we have either learned through our environment or also have been inherited through our ancestral patterns, right? So a lot of those things can be addressed through hypnosis. So that's a great tool. Absolutely.
So what's the
Yes.
next stage that to walk our audience through the next stage and give us some examples of it?
Let me share the screen again.
Okay.
So the next stage, just going to make this a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Oh, doesn't seem to, there we go. The next stage is awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing beyond the veil, where you begin to question the old story, you seek deeper meaning, awareness expands, and you start to see beyond the illusions. So, hmm, tell me about that, Shataka. Tell me when you began to question the old story and you started to see beyond the illusions.
I think when I made that effort to go seek my first tarot reader, again, I was terrified, but I pushed through that because I needed some answers. I needed someone to tell me what I was going through. That was my initial seeing behind, pushing through the veil because the veil is you. To me, based on the things that I've learned, when the veil is removed, you're able to see more of your patterns. You're able to see truly who you are, to be authentic. And when you're not being authentic, you can call that shit out. So my veil started lifting for me when I pushed through those fears that I had, even just about spirituality, just learning something new and something different with that. My awareness heightened one particular, I think it was one particular morning. The previous night, I was in, I'm gonna say another dimension because I astro travel. I was somewhere else, and where I was at, it was familiar for me. It was beautiful colors that I can't even describe, but I felt at peace. Like everything where I was at was harmonious. When I woke up, and I opened my eyes. My room didn't even look the same. The dimensions were different. When I went outside, the sky was bluer. I was actually hearing the birds, the crickets, just different insects. Everything was so clear for me. And that stage lasted for about a week to a week and a half where life is just beautiful. And I thought it was going to stay like that. I think there was, a lot of people would say your Kundalini was rising, whatever it was for me, it was beautiful. I haven't experienced peace that long ever. It didn't last, but for me, that showed me that it was possible to have that mindset to view the world peaceful, not again, not allowing certain things in your energy, but still viewing the world at a harmonious, balanced state. That was my indicator. What about you?
Yeah, I think back again to what happened with the when I was initiated to the Reiki Master
Mhm.
level, and I experienced like this ego death experience, and where everything I thought I was, a mother, my
Mhm.
name at the time was Michelle, I was a Buddhist, I was this, I was that, it literally disappeared. And I had this sense of none of that was real.
Mhm.
Those were all just labels, and they were all my stories about who I was.
Mhm.
And so I began to see beyond my own veil, like so to speak, that those were just ways I identified myself, but it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that's who I am. And so I was in a place of like nothingness. And they
Mhm.
talk about it in Buddhism and the Heart Sutra, which I used to recite when I was a Buddhist. And
Mhm.
there's a line where it says, no ears, no nose, no mouth, no mind. And I remember at the time going, what do they mean by no mind? This doesn't make any sense, no mind.
Right.
But in that moment where I had that ego death experience, I was like, this is no mind. I
Mhm.
have no mind. I have no associations to who I am anymore. And while it felt a little bit disturbing and disconcerting, over time, it was like I was given an opportunity to rebirth a new me. And I liked who I was even more. So even my husband at the time said my personality completely changed.
Yeah.
I wasn't the same anymore, but I feel like I was a better version of myself. And he was kind of like shocked. Like I can imagine for somebody looking on the outside that your wife's personality is completely different. The
Right.
person you fell in love with is not the same
Right.
anymore.
Mhm.
And so that for me was probably, yeah, that was a huge shift in my awareness.
Right.
And that was the beginning of all of, everything started to, everything about my life. I started waking up. I started having much more awareness and clarity in my life. Yeah.
Which lead us into transformation. And that's the most important part of it because all those themes, the themes that you've been through, it leads up to your transformation. And with your transformation, sometimes people in your life are no longer in your life because it doesn't fit the new version of you. Sometimes physical things changes on you. For me, what changed for me was even physical. My looks changed. Again, I went through that health crisis. So once I got that under control, I was lighter, I was glowing, I felt more positive. Things I was attracting, was the things that I desired. My family started showing up. When I changed my mindset because I transformed all those outdated beliefs, my reality started showing me those things. So it started giving me the wants and desires that I had. They wasn't because when you go through that type of transformation, you always know what you don't want. You never think about what you do want. I could always tell you, well, I don't want this, I don't want that. But throughout that transformation, I wasn't focusing what I don't want. My focus went to what I do want, what I deserve, what I'm going to respond back to the world with that. That was my deep healing and my transformation was hypnotherapy. That was very important for me, but ayahuasca was my big transformation for me because I was able to take all those masks that I wore, all those labels I was able to take them off and truly get to know who Shataka was. And those fears that I had, they showed up for me under the ayahuasca as kind of like I know this is going to be weird, but they showed up kind of like as demonic presence because I was always into scary movies, watching different shit. I don't do that now, but for some reason I used to watch scary movies, and when you see zombies, you know that is imprinted in your subconscious. So when you think of something demonic, you done gave it a picture. So everything that I was afraid of was attached to my fears. And during that ayahuasca ceremony, I had to go to each one of those entities or beliefs and say, I see you, I acknowledge you, I love you, and I return you back to God. And for me, God is just everything. And when I did that, something released from me. And it looked like it was a long list of those outdated beliefs that I gave faces to, but each one of them, I went through that process. And when I left the Maloka from that ceremony, I was a different person because those fears, the things that was holding me back, no longer was with me anymore. My channeling, was more clearer. My direction, my purpose was clearer for me. All those things that held me back, which was me, no longer served me, was not with me anymore. That was the biggest transformation, not just my looks, but it was a mental thing. It was a spiritual thing. I had one of the biggest transformations that was important that has me right here today, being able to be on Zoom, share my story with everybody so you can know that you're not alone.
Wow, what a great story. And I know in future episodes, we will be focusing on the power of transformation through plant medicine
Mm-hmm.
work. And both of us have a lot of experience in working with medicines. Shiitake more so with ayahuasca, myself more so with psilocybin, although I know Shiitake has done psilocybin as
Mm-hmm.
well. But yeah, we're excited. We'll probably also invite a guest, an
Oh, for
expert
sure.
as well, because I know a lot of shamans because of
Yes.
who I am and where I live. There's a lot of shamans around me, so we'll always be our show will always be a combination of us sharing and also including guests on different
Right.
episodes. And we want to be able to give you as much um, of a wider perspective on things so that it can really support you in your
Yeah.
life. Yeah, because everybody has a different message, and one message might resonate more with one of you than other messages. So we want to make sure we cover the whole gambit
There
when
you
we're doing the
go.
show. Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
And also know that it doesn't have, again, this is a safe space. It's not a polished space because, the things that I went through was not all rainbows and, fairies. It wasn't. It was some dark times that I went through it, but I got through it. So we don't want to give you that false illusion that, oh, if I go through a tarot reader, my life is going to change. If a psychic reader tell me I'm going to be the best version of me tomorrow, it doesn't work like that. You still got to do the work. You still got to show up. That's why we created this space so we can help you or even remind you to be rooted in your own energy and your own spirit.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, any last words of wisdom, or is there
Well,
any
the
parting?
last one is is
uh,
is it the integration. So the integration got us here because in the integration point, that's taking action. All the tools, everything you've learned along your journey, you use that to share your story or be of service, whatever that looks like for you. You may not be like me and Maitreya and want to do energy work and want to, work with spirit. You may show up differently, but it's okay to show up the way you need to show up. And integration is taking action. You can't just sit, stockpile all the information and think it's going to change your life because it just don't work like that. You have to take action and not be afraid to fail because really, is it truly failing? It's just gaining another experience with that. An experience you either want more of or you want less of. You get to choose with that. Our goal is to help you remember who you are so that you can stay rooted, stay grounded while you navigate life through your awakening journey. And the journey never stops. It just gets easier and easier. And I think Maitreya said it that, when you hit those dips, because you're going to hit them. I mean, that's what we're here to do, but you don't stay in them. My awareness is so heightened that when I go into a spin or dip, like I say we all gonna do it, it may take from 1 minute to 5 to 10. I don't stay in it because I know that everything has purpose in it, but I determine how it show up in my reality, in my world. What
Mm.
about you, Maitreya?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I remember saying that, that I think that through this awakening spirit experience, it's really given me so much support and tools so that I don't have to stay in that, heavy energy
Yeah.
or disruptive thought pattern for hours and hours and hours. So, yeah, we're definitely going to share more tools about how to do that. And for me, a lot of it is around using the breath to bring us back into coherence. I do a lot with breath coherence meditations, which I'm happy to share with you. And I'm sure Shataka has other tools, simple tools, simple but
Yeah.
powerful tools that
Yeah.
work, and we know, because we've we've tried them out through trial and error, and we
Yeah.
we both understand the importance of having some tools to help you navigate through this awakening experience. And I know that on our next show, we're going to have a special guest.
Hmm.
A dear friend of mine, Josephine, mother of 8 children, is going to be talking about her amazing, amazing
Hmm.
awakening experience. So, yeah, we definitely hope you tune in for
Yeah.
that episode because that's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible.
And also, down the line, we want to invite some of our audience who want to share their story, to know that you're not alone and we have similar journeys as well. You may offer some tips and tools for everybody. It's not just for healers, it's for anyone. This is a safe, sacred space. And again, don't think that you have to be perfect, you have to be polished, because I'm gonna make some mistakes. Okay, but long as you get the message and understand that we're coming from our hearts with that, and we're going to be as authentic as we possibly can. And if not, call us out on it. We welcome the feedback. We welcome the comments. We want you to let us know what you would like for us to cover. If you want us to go deeper in a certain topic, we're open for all of that because this is our space. We're trying to build community here because we need that. Right now, with everything that's going on outside of us, it's good to have community where you can go in and ask questions or just need someone to hold space for you. This is what we're creating here. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, because we're here. That's what we're here for. Maitreya, you can take us on out if you need to.
I just want to thank you all for your support, for showing up today, for taking this time for yourself. And we love you, and we
Yeah,
just want to be of service. And yeah, tell us what you need, and we'll do our best
all
to
right.
meet your needs if we can. And we're also available individually if one of us or both of us resonate with you and you want to work with us individually, we're here for that. And you can find out more how to reach us in the comments below. Our contact details are there with our email and websites. So just get in touch if you want to do that.
Before we wrap it up, Maitreya, I don't know if we went in detail enough. Do they know what we truly offer? So go ahead and let our audience know what you offer.
Oh, okay.
What does one of your sessions look like?
I am a soul mentor. I work at the soul level because I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and I have the capacity to tune in and to your higher self and find out what it is you really desire and require, and to help you get that. I'm also an energy healer. I work with a Cosma quantum energy healing, which is a beautiful sort of galactic
Yeah.
energy system. It's similar to Reiki, but it's different, different symbols, and I love working with that. And I'm also a hypnotherapist, and I help people with reprogramming and changing their limiting beliefs and so forth. And additionally, I do shamanic healing. I've been on the path for a long, long time, about almost 20 years doing shamanic healing. And I have the capacity to identify entities, to clear them, to identify portals, close portals that you don't need. And I work with releasing ancestral patterns and curses. So yeah, it's pretty intense, but it's pretty cool. I've helped a lot of people, a lot of people. So yeah. And how about you, Shataka? What are you offering right now?
So we're very similar to that. I have the ability to connect to your guides, ancestors, loved ones that may have crossed over to give you the message that you may need. I also allow you to ask certain questions, and I get those answers from your team. I also do energy work. I can pinpoint what's going on with you. I'm been shown past, present, potential futures. Depends on how you respond and show up to the world. Things that may be going on with you. I'm also a hypnotherapist. We can do past life regressions, whatever it is you may need. Subconscious work is very important. I want to stress that. Energy work is great, but if your beliefs and patterns are still the same, you're gonna recreate the same thing that you've been going on with that. Let me see what else I do. Meditations. I'm also able to journey with those that want to take a journey. Plant medicine facilitator, but I want to emphasize that's more Maitreya thing. I'm more of a sitter, very good sitter. I can travel with you while you're under your plant medicine with that. It's a whole umbrella of things that I do. Spiritual coach, mentor, those that want to learn how to use their gifts, how to build relationship with spirit. I'm very good with that. I can coach you and mentor you with that, where you empower your own self. You don't have to reach out to other healers, to give you those answers where you can learn to do that for yourself. So we have very similar gifts, just different expressions with it, all the same.
Uh, Beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Well, until next time, we want you to stay real,
Ruby.
stay rooted, and stay grounded.
Wonderful. See you all next time for our special guest episode with
Yes,
Joseph.
we can't wait. We're excited.
Have
Bye.
a beautiful day. Bye.